So Mark, to me, one of the most unforgettable presentations I've ever seen is when a speaker, an expert, a true expert, not like, hey, I'm pretending I'm an expert, where somebody actually knows world-class level what they're doing, when they can come on stage, have this incredible energy, but deliver content that's so digestible and so memorable. And then, oh yeah, the person is just delightful on stage. You can't help but love them and think, I want to be their friend. Mark, I saw this at our NSA chapter, and she speaks all over the world, high level, unbelievable. You've got to meet Mark Brown, Erin Gargan King. She's amazing, Mark. What are your thoughts?
Man, I cannot wait. As a speaker, you want to be that person on stage, but to see someone actually come on, be vulnerable, be authentic, be real, be genuine, be personable, and still have high content, man, that's amazing. I can't wait to meet Erin Gargan King.
Anyone can give a presentation. Few deliver unforgettable presentations. What's the difference? You're about to find out. Welcome to the Unforgettable Presentations Podcasts with your hosts, world champion speakers and coaches Mark Brown.
Your life tells a story, and there's someone out there who needs to hear it.
And Darren LaCroix.
Stage time, stage time, stage time.
Ready for some powerful presentation ahas? Let's dive right in.
Yeah, Mark, rarely am I blown away by a presenter, but Erin, welcome. I am above thrilled to have you here.
Darren, thank you so much. That was such a kind intro, and I'm so happy to see your face, and Mark, to meet you.
Pleasure is mine. Anybody who can rock a hot pink dress and white sneakers on stage, that's my kind of person, man.
Well, I don't know how stylish it is, but it sure is comfortable. So,
And that's your signature, right? I mean, that's you. That's who you are, and it's amazing. It's one part of what appeals when you have that branded look that gets our attention. And you come on stage with so much energy and so much vibrance and such personality. I can't help but be drawn in, and to get to know you is a thrill for me.
thanks, Mark. Well, it's nice to meet you.
And Erin, I just have to tell you, I've never whatever she's selling, I'm buying, because you're a social media guru and there's a billion of them out there. I've heard all of them, and rarely have I ever been, well, yeah, they know what they're doing. When you were on stage, when I was watching you, I could not even look away. I couldn't take enough notes, and you are the rare real deal. I said, if we ever start a podcast, I'm asking Erin first. So here you are. Thanks for joining us. Glad we could pin you down.
Sure thing.
So Erin, this presentation is for corporate presenters, professional speakers, and pastors. People who are on stage and want to influence, but really care about their message. And how do we truly make it unforgettable? So how did you start as a presenter? Well, tell us the Erin story.
Well, my agency, Socialite, is a social media company for large events and conferences and trade shows. So we would go into these big events, every industry you can think of, everything from the Association for Automotive to the United States Navy's annual event for the government, to the Oscars, to Fashion Week, all these crazy events. And we were essentially social media journalists. So our job was to put a microphone and a spotlight around all the great ideas that were taking place at these different events. And one day, one of the social media speakers for a breakout room called in sick. And the meeting planner, who was my client, is losing her mind. I mean, she's bawling, crying. She's so stressed out. The tears are dripping onto the clipboard. She's having a full meltdown. And she said, well, she was talking about social media. Since you do that for our event, could you just go up and just share some thoughts? And so I said, well, yeah, can I prepare? She goes, well, it's in an hour. I need you on stage. So it's your client, right? And what do we do for our clients? Anything. So ran up there. It was probably 100 people, and just told the stories of what we've done for our clients. It was nothing polished. I didn't have any slides, just kind of sharing real stories of what's been working. And afterward, after I finished, sweating through my dress and being so nervous and like thinking it was a disaster, there were all these different people that came up to me afterwards and they said, we'd love to bring you in to our company. What do you charge? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh my gosh, you can get paid to do this? Are you kidding me? That sounds a lot more fun than dealing with crazy clients all day long, So that's how it started. So I just did a couple, and then it's funny. I've had a couple different ventures, and this is the venture that the only one I didn't like set out to do. It sort of found me. And so it's really built organically, and I've been doing it now for 3 years. And it's just, every single day, just like both of you and everyone probably listening, you just can't believe that this is what you get to do for your job. You just feel so darn blessed. I mean, it's just overwhelming. So I'm just having a lot of fun with it. I love sharing what I've learned and serving these different communities. And, we have this tagline that's, have fun, help people, and make money, in that order. And so far we're kind of getting it all done. So it's been really, really exciting times.
That's amazing. I'm curious though, Erin, your start 3 years unplanned, but yet wildly successful. What do you say to the individual who says, wait a second, I've been doing this for like 7 years and I'm getting my way in there? Like my buddy Darren, when he came to me, how many years were you doing your speaking, Darren, when he came to me? 7 years?
7,
right? And they say, I've been doing this 7 years, but you come along and then boom, you're doing this. What's your secret to that, Erin?
My secret is exactly what Darren always preaches, which is reps, 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 stage time, stage time, stage time. Because even though I wasn't speaking on stage as a speaker, inside my companies every single day, you're leading the meetings, you're leading the sales presentations, you're presenting ideas to the client, you're constantly, it wasn't boots on stage, but it was boots in conference rooms, boots in investor meetings, boots on conference calls and video calls. And so that's number one, is that if you are in a profession where, whether you're sales, marketing, leadership, you're an executive, where you are sharing thoughts and ideas and bringing people on board with the direction that you're going, you are a speaker, right? So that's the first thing. And then I think the second thing is the fact that I'm just talking about what I know. Like if someone asked me to speak on time management, nope, fail, right? No. And even leadership, I'm not great at managing people. I'm actually much happier as an independent operator because I wasn't a great manager. There's all kinds of topics that if it was a different topic, I'm sure I would be struggling. So I guess the question, if you're listening, is what do you just have the most experience with? What do you actually know? What have you failed at doing a lot? And what do you know a little bit about what works? And then just sharing that authentically in a way that makes people feel that if you could do it, they could do it, is probably the only, I guess, quote unquote, secret, I would say.
Well, you use one word there. You said authentically. And that's part of what everyone sees when Erin takes the stage. They see the real you. I mean, who's going to go on stage and reveal their mullet for 1,000 people to see? That you got to tell the whole mullet story, because we got audience. So what in the world is a mullet, real quick, before I let Darren take over?
Sure. So a permullet is the combination of both perm and mullet. And it's what comes together when you are in 3rd grade and want to get your hair permed. Your mother is already concerned because your grades aren't that good, doesn't want the chemicals that close to the brain cells, unnecessary, extra risk factor. So my mother convinced me to just get my bangs, my fringe, just the top permed. And so my hair is naturally stick straight. I have the huge permed bangs. And let's just say that 3rd grade, I wasn't exactly reeling in the boyfriends, okay? Because it was a very awkward haircut. And we've all had one, but this one was pretty epic.
And then you put up, when you're on stage, you show a image of the actual photo next to Joe Dirt. Like,
yes, it's very similar genre of hairstyle. So, yeah.
And Erin, one of the things that there's a few things I really want to get your insights in, because I think it would help a lot of presenters. Like when I see you on stage, you remind me of like Robin Williams. Like you're just all over. You're so animated, but what I love is you're so authentic too. I remember you have a story where you literally talk about the time that you were on the couch, like ready to quit it all. And you literally lay down on the stage, like just so present, and just bring us to that moment and just literally lay there. And you're like, not the Instagram way, but I'm done. I can't handle this anymore.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I had a couple different ventures that were really not very successful. And to bring it back to the authenticity question of earlier, Mark, that you asked, like, what's the secret? You know, when I first started speaking, I felt like an imposter because I never studied theater or performance. And I felt like I was just faking it so much. And I think people in this industry, in any industry, we struggle with that. Like, am I supposed to be here? Do I deserve to be here? And so what I started doing was, okay, I'm a gal, I'm under 40, I don't know what I'm doing. So I felt this need to project like I'm the bomb, right? So I would really exaggerate my stories. Like I would say, you know, my first company was a success and my second, and I've just been successful the whole time, which is not true at all. And so I found that audiences were turned off by that because they're like, cool, so you've had it all, so you don't get me, you don't understand. And
Mm.
it wasn't until I quit the bullshit and I started being honest and saying, look, my first company, I was 25 building websites. Within a year, I was $50,000 in debt and I was running payroll on my personal credit card. It was a disaster. I had to give up and go back to work and dig out of that debt at a corporate 9-to-5 cubicle job for years. Then my second venture, I raised capital for it and we like barely broke even. But then the third venture, after getting a job again, finally, I took it from that one client at my kitchen table where I had wanted to quit, which is what Darren's referencing, was that this is my third venture. $100 cell phone bill came due and I couldn't pay a $100 cell phone bill. And it was one of those shame spiral moments where you just say to yourself, you know what, maybe it's not that my ideas aren't good enough or that the business model, maybe it's just you. Maybe you're just not good enough. And I gave myself a timeline and said, look, if this cell phone bill comes due next month and you still can't scrape together $100, it's time to throw in the towel on this thing and quit. And a series of events began to transpire and I started to get some momentum and I ended up landing the Oscars was my big client. And when we got them, it just changed everything. And it went from failure, broke, debt, dig out of debt, debt again, dig out of debt, failure, to all of a sudden one client at a time. Over the last 8 years, we've worked with the world's biggest brands, helping them with social media strategy. But there was that moment of, you know, look, it's now or never. And maybe it's time to admit that you're not cut out for it. But I pushed through. And I think that all of us hear these stories on stage. We read them in books. We hear them in keynotes. It's that classic, it's darkest before the dawn. And I always rolled my eyes at that stuff. I never really believed that. And until it actually happens to you and you realize that all the cliches are true, all the coffee mug motivational quotes are true, it's true. And so if you're listening to this and you are having that feeling at the end of the year and you're thinking, you know what, next year, maybe I should just try something. Maybe it's not there for me. You know, it's a tough call, but sometimes just pushing through that one last push, just like in the movies, is what gets you to where you've dreamed of going. And it's, again, it sounds cliche, but when you walk in those shoes, you realize, man, it really is real. And so that's my story. That's what happened.
So on that, how did you know that that was the story? Like, what made you feel it? Or did somebody give you some guidance? Or did you just know that that's the story I need to tell? That's number one. And then number two, how did you, well, let's start with number one.
Well, that story I tell because it was my biggest struggle in my life that I faced professionally. And it was the story that changed everything for me. And I'm a you, I'm an everyone. And so I think just sharing that story, we've all not been able to pay a cell phone bill. Or there's part of the story I talk about, I was trying to go to the meeting in LA and I was not using the gas pedal on the downhills because I was trying to make sure I could actually get there. And that's an experience, everyone nods their head because we've all done that. So I think I chose that story because it was the lowest point in my life that led to the most insane part of my life. And the whole thing's true. And so I think that it's just something that everyone thinks to themselves, well, gosh, what's my Oscar opportunity? What's my Oscar moment? What's the thing that I'm chasing so hard? And what is that one little breakthrough that maybe could catapult me to the next level? And we all have that. And so I ask my audiences to close their eyes and picture what that Oscar opportunity might be for them. Because oftentimes I think we just know what we don't want, but we don't always articulate what we do want. And I think that's a big game changer of not just moving away from something, but actually moving towards that one thing that we desire so badly. So that's why I picked it.
And what inspired or what gave you the notion to literally lay down on stage and kind of show us how you felt in that moment? Because an average person would be like, Erin, you're in a dress. Like, what are you doing? Get off the, don't lay down in front of the audience. Like, what got you? Because I think that's part of what makes it so powerful, and your authenticity shines through, that you're willing to just put it out there.
Well, to be authentic, what I'd love to say was like, I just had this amazing idea on my own. False. I was at NSA. And I went to a session with Michael and Amy Port, and they did a session that Neen James organized. I forget what it was called. I think it was for a fundraiser or something, but we all paid this extra money to go to this special class they taught last year. And they were talking about how the stage can actually be the set of your movie, of your play, of your production. And I started watching different great speakers that I admire very much. I really admire Phil Jones. I think he's incredible. And I watched him sit down on the stage and talk to people. And then I watched Mike Ganino, who's an incredible speaker. And he was creating, he was opening a door and sitting on a couch. And he was just creating all this with his improv talent. And I realized, watching these incredible speakers and listening to what Michael and Amy were suggesting, I'm like, wow, this is a place we can play and we can create. And so I was lying on the couch. And so I thought to myself, well, what if I just like, let's lie on the couch. Like, let's just try it. And the first time I did it, I was terrified. And I had the microphone, and I forgot I had the headset, and I laid down on the microphone and it popped off, and it was feedback, and it was awful. But we don't know until we try. Now I know to lay on the other side each time. So, that's sort of what's part of the big, brave choice that we're all scared of. It, something's going to go wrong, and it does, and no one dies, and you recover, and the next time you lay on the other side of your face, and it's fine. So that's how it came to be.
And what kind of feedback did you get, or did you get a feeling like, ooh, that worked?
I think when I first laid down, and they started kind of like laughing a little bit, but then when I was looking out at them, I could see the spotlight. I was kind of under the spotlight, and when you can't really see people, all of a sudden for a minute before they adjusted the spotlight, I could see everyone's faces, and I saw them doing like the
nodding.
I have done that, so I kept it.
That's awesome. All right. So one other subject, and then Mark, if you got any questions, that I am so intrigued, and so I think it is what really helps you stand out, is your ability to get high-level, world-class content across in a way that's easily understood, like your pub method: personal, useful, brief. You have this way of taking social media, which everybody's talking about and claims to be a guru. You are the guru. But how do you know, or what would you suggest for people trying to get across rock solid content in an understandable, walk away, apply today kind of way?
Well, you're sweet to call me a guru, but there is no way in heck that I am a guru with social media, because it's impossible to be a guru at social media, because it changes all the time. I mean, we are one day away from, if we're not constantly reading the updates, what's changing, what's moving, what's new. I mean, you have to be on it all the time to just barely stay ahead of the curve, a scotch more than the average bear. And that's really what I commit to doing, is understanding it. So I don't think that it's really possible to master social media. It's a moving target. What I do believe is what's helpful with the pub method is that I try to create a way of understanding how you can just be more of who you already are in an environment where things are always changing. So what are the things that don't change? Well, the way that we like to be spoken to, the things we're attracted to in others, the communication styles that actually entice us to stop our scroll, lean forward, and say, tell me more. Whether you're across the table from someone, or on a Zoom call like this, or you're on social media, those are timeless principles. And so I tried to make the pub method something that is, number one, helping you tap into what you already have inside you. It's not learning a new skill. It's just remembering to be more of who you are in real life. Number two, I tried to make it kind of insurance, sort of to proof it from the changes of social media. And then number three, I tried to make it something that is a process, because I love hearing great speakers that get you so inspired and you're so pumped, and the great stories, and then you walk away and you don't really know exactly what to do. And so for me, I love a good, like, this is exactly what you do. So I try to create something that if I was on the flip side, maybe it would help me be able to actually go away and make change.
Yeah, I've seen some amazing speakers who, just like you said, they're amazing. They have you rapt attention, and then you're like, okay, now what do I do at the end? And you are so not that. If you remember, I actually took your method. I went home and I did a test to thousands on my list. I did it my way, the way I usually did it, and then I did it the Erin way, and I get like twice the engagement. And I was like, girl knows what she's doing. SheRocks.com.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's awesome. That's my why. That's so cool. Thanks for doing that. That's great.
Oh, you're welcome. And again, for everyone, if you truly want to be unforgettable and have that impact, you've got to realize, okay, what are they going to do now? Not just a call to action, but almost like a strategy with the call to action. Mark?
Well, you mentioned being who you are and being authentic. And something Erin said, I saw it on one of her videos, and also repeated here, that really stuck with me about being unforgettable. And it's this: if you can be more of who you already are in every environment, be who you are on stage, be more of yourself, let the audience see you. In interpersonal, at somebody's desk, be who you are with them. They want to lean into you. Be who you are on video. Be who you are on a phone in a conference call. Be who you are in your social media interaction. Let the audience see more of you, the authentic you. I mean, that speaks volumes to me. You're not just unforgettable on the platform. You are unforgettable as a person and as a personality. And that's really key. And Erin, you do that so well. You teach that so well. And if we can all grasp that and it shines through in all of us, we can literally change the way people see us and the impact we have on their lives. So thank you for that, Erin.
Sure thing. Well, I just, there's no one like Mark, and there's no one like Darren, and there's no one like all these different awesome personalities that are probably listening to this podcast. And, it's human nature that we see people that are doing a great job, and we think, well, if what they're doing is working and getting them results, if I just do what they're doing, then I'll get the same. But the truth is, there's like my friend Jay Bear, Jay Bear always says same as lame. And I love that phrase so much because it is. And even as speakers, I mean, I've only been doing this for 3 years. And for the first probably year or two, I looked at all these incredible speakers and made the classic mistake of, okay, maybe I should try to be, really polished. Like Kendra Hall is so polished, and she's so perfect. And I'm gonna try and be perfect. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I should just be, I speak really fast. My friend Brian Fanzo speaks fast, and he gets away with it. Maybe I can just speak fast like him and just be myself. But that's not really totally always me. So you're trying to find these people, and finally it was last year after NSA, and I came home and I'm like, this is exhausting. I'm just gonna do me and see what happens. And it's so freeing. It's so liberating. And that's where I started wearing the sneakers, because I was wearing heels, which is corporate, and I'm not corporate. I mean, hello, I'm at my house right now. This is the beach, right there. I have my hair's in dreadlocks right now from the shower. I'm wearing a Patagonia, I'm a surfer, skater, outdoorsy kind of gal. I'm not a corporate heels kind of person, but I felt like that was the professional look that people would hire. And I carry the heels to the stage and carry them back. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so, it was just one of those things where I kept putting the sneakers on the way over and then taking off and putting them on the way back from the stage. And then, one day it was just kind of like, what if I just wore the sneakers on stage just for once, just to be fun? And it was my first standing ovation, because I was literally walking in my own shoes. I was comfortable.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Nice.
And it was a game changer.
Irish jig as well.
I saw that too. The Irish. Where did you learn that from? That was amazing.
Well, yeah, my family's crazy Irish, and we had to hop around like little leprechauns wearing wigs in our childhood. The good thing was we didn't have to go to school on St. Patrick's Day, but the not as great
St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, was that we were dancing in bars with our parents during the daytime, which effects of that TBD, who knows? But anyway, so it was interesting.
Having green beer as well too on St. Patty's Day.
Well, we were underage. My parents were. Yeah.
Question for you: the dress itself, the color, it's very simple style. You wear it well, but the color pops. Is that deliberate? That color you have, that bright. I saw the photograph you have for us on a Zoom. your profile, your nice pose, but you got this bright colored dress. Is that speak about who you are, authentic you, the personal you, or do you like to have muted colors sometimes? A different kind of question, I know, but
Well, I like your pop of red, by the way, Mark. Yeah, I like your fun red top.
Why, thank you very much.
So I actually, the only dress I had that had pockets in it was a pink dress. And so, as a woman speaker, you have that weird hunchback thing with the lav pack.
Yep, the lav pack, yeah.
And so it was I had a dress with pockets, and so I could put the lav pack in the pocket, and it was the only one I had. And so I bought another one of it, and I bought another one, and then I was like, well, I'm not very stylish, as you can tell, and I'm not really into fashion and clothes, and it's a lot of work to try and figure out what's cool and appropriate, and it just made me tired. So I just got a bunch of different dresses that were kind of the same color and sort of subscribe to that uniform concept that if you take one thing off your plate that you're wasting energy worrying about, you can focus all your energy on what really matters, which is serving your people, bringing your fire, and being comfortable in who you are. So and also I like pink, but that wasn't really the reason. So,
but I have no doubt there are people out there going, yeah, the girl in the shocking pink dress on the white sneakers. The white sneakers. Yeah, she's so awesome. And they may not remember your name, but it'll remember you and your brand, and that's being who you are. I think that's wonderful. And your energy is amazing. When do you kind of calm down? When do you get to decompress? Do you ever decompress?
Yes, I have two speeds. I am 90 and then I'm 0. So like when I'm over it, I wish goodbye. I leave the party, I leave the restaurant, I leave the event, and I just go home and go to sleep right away. And I sleep 8-9 hours a day, no matter what, like a rock. I wake up in the exact same position, and then it's go. But then when I'm finished, my husband always says, oh, there it is. You can see it. It just goes. Yeah. And so, I mean, I do spend a lot of time. I do like a lot of mountain biking and surfing and yoga and breathing and reading. And I do a lot of time on refilling your own bucket so that you can serve everyone else. And I've gotten a lot better at saying no to things as I've gotten older, which I think is important for all of us to keep in mind, that it's okay. People get mad for a second. If you said you're going to do something, obviously honor it. Don't be a selfish jerk. But if it's something that maybe doesn't have to happen right now, or maybe isn't like totally critical, sometimes just plugging into yourself and taking that second, it can kind of help to make sure that you are your best self. I mean, I don't think that self-care is selfish. I think that self-care is really important so you can show up and do your thing and be the person everyone wants you to be. You can't do that running an empty tank,
And your energy and your brilliance is so engaging. So, we just want to follow you. I got home, I did the test, and then I was telling my friend Maureen, Mark and I's friend Maureen Zappala, about you. And she got so excited. She actually went out and got your book, and she said, tell Erin she's got a new follower and friend and fan.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah. And it was cool because I started calling her out on some of her posts that weren't in the pub method. And I was like, oh, shut up, Darren. You're not doing it either. Anyway, to inspire other people, because we look at you and your energy is so vibrant. Have you ever bombed? We want everyone to know that it's not always awesome. So story about bombing.
Yep, it was, and I'm still having nightmares about it. It was right after I had this event with all of these women. It was 20,000, mostly women and men, but 20,000 people. I think I met with you, Darren, right after the event, Pridepalooza. Yep. And it was the most adrenaline, just the greatest, that event. We've all had that event or that sales presentation or that pitch where you walked out and you're like, that was so fun, and I was riding high on that. And then I had an event a couple days later in San Diego with a buttoned up healthcare corporate event. And it was mostly men, some women, but everyone's wearing the black suits. It was, first thing in the morning. It was very serious. And I forgot to say, okay, who is this audience? What do they need? And I just brought my same stories and my same thing that I did for these entrepreneurial women. These guys are not entrepreneurs. They were corporate. They were 9 to 5. It was a different industry. And my stories didn't land. My motivational moments didn't land. It was just not the right message. And so there's 2 takeaways. I mean, I didn't even hit a double. I mean, I think it was Christine Cashin was there. She can verify. And she was like, that was a tough one. I'm like, I know. So I think that the 2 takeaways, one way of looking at it is always knowing your audience and never forgetting what do they need to hear, not what do I want to say. Okay. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, are you for every audience? You know, should you only be saying yes as much as you can afford to do or realistically can to events and people that you know are going to resonate with who you are? Like, should you have to dim your light for a serious corporate event if that's not really you? I don't know. I mean, being a chameleon is great, and being adaptable is great, and it's so important. And it's one of those questions I'm not really sure the answer to, but it's something to think about, you know?
Hmm. And finally, as we wrap this up, Erin, Mark has taken notes here too. We're going to recap your keepers in just a moment, all those brilliant wisdom filled ideas from you. But any final advice that you would give to another presenter who really strives to be unforgettable? Any other advice?
I would say the biggest piece of advice that I wish people had given me 3 years ago, all the way 3 years ago, was to really invest time in spending time with speakers that you admire and speakers that you look up to, because everyone has something to share with you, and you hopefully can share something back. But I think that speakers investing in relationships with other speakers, like Darren, you and Mark exchanging this brain power on this podcast. I belong to a wonderful mastermind with 3 dynamo keynote speakers, Tamsin Webster, Tammy Evans, and Neen James. I have learned more from those brilliant women than I can even talk about. And so I think just the advice is to remember that you're not an island, you're not alone. It can be a lonely gig, and make the time. Make the time for the one FaceTime a week with a new speaker and get to know them. You know, make the time to spend a little time on social media and give them a little shout, a little high five, and just, you know, draw upon all these interesting people that you can learn so much from, and hopefully can help them in some way as well. So
awesome. Great advice. Mark Brown, what are our keepers for this episode with Erin?
I can't recall ever having 15 things I wrote down just because they hit me so hard. First of all, if you're sharing ideas, you're a speaker. Could be in an office somewhere, at a corporate meeting, you're a speaker. Talk about what you know. Be authentic. Share your struggle and push through one last time. Erin also said, there is no need to embellish the truth, okay? But you need to identify your Oscar opportunity. Use a PUP method, be personal, useful, and brief. Stay sharp, learn, understand, and invest time with other speakers, maybe in a mastermind group. Know this, self-care is not selfish. You must refill your bucket so you can serve other people. Be bold and walk in your own shoes. Ask yourself, are you really for every audience? And be more of who you already are in every environment, in person, on video, in audio, and in social media. Wow. Talk about a mouthful. Erin, thank you. And again, thank you.
And Erin, where can people reach out to you or follow you? And what's the title of your book? Where can we find it?
Digital Persuasion is on Amazon, and I am an Instagram gal. Unfortunately, I spend way too much time on that stupid platform, but I love it. It's at Erin Gargan, Gargan King. And I'm on there sharing tips, advice. I love my tribe on there. If you DM me questions, I answer. We go live and we solve problems. And it's that balance between living your real life and looking up and being present. But then also it's a great tool if you can use it in a healthy way to build relationships and share your knowledge base at scale. So highly recommend.
All right. And if you have an audience that Erin would be perfect for, please reach out to her. You can also find out more at eringarganking.com. Erin, you are unforgettable.
Hey there, this is Darren. I hope you enjoyed that program and you got some great insights from watching this video podcast. Now, we don't put all of them on YouTube like you're watching now. We just put a select few. So if you want to get all the episodes, you can go right now to Apple Podcast. You can go to Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify, or check it out on your favorite platform. See if it's there for you. But we'd love to have you subscribe. Join us every single week for new content, new stories, and new strategies behind unforgettable presentations. Subscribe now.